Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC Fight Night, Moraes versus Sandhagen. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the prelims and our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the flyweight division, Ulanbekov versus Bruno Silva. So this one right here, Ulanbekov will have a 3-inch height advantage. I don't think his reach is listed, but I believe he's at like a 71 or 72-inch reach because he has some pretty long arms and he fights like it. And Bruno Silva is 5'4", so he's like I said, 5'4" versus 5'7". Ulanbekov will have a 3-inch height advantage. Have a significant reach advantage as well. And I think Silva will have a BJJ advantage, but Bekov will have the grappling advantage, as far as initiating. Like typically the like the Sambo and wrestlers have as far as who can get the fight to the ground advantage in these fights. And I see them having that advantage. Striking wise, I think Silva is far more versatile on the feet, but Ulanbekov is, he just has the basics and he has what he needs. Silva will do a lot of flashy stuff at times with like those spinning wheel kicks to the head and like explode at times. But Ulanbekov is one of those fighters that's, I wouldn't even say him classify him as like a super technical fighter. He's a fighter that knows what he has. He has a good straight hand. Good straight. And he keeps you at bay with that. He'll throw a jab out and you try to come in and explode on him. He'll try to crack you with that straight. So he wants to pretty much keep you at bay, keep you at the end of his reach. And like I said, he's not gonna have the highest arsenal and stuff. Now be having amazing leg kicks, amazing footwork. He's not no Israel Adesanya. That's definitely a big comparison. But I'm saying he's not those people. I would classify him as a high level striker. Basically, what I'm saying, he's a guy that has some simple tools, but he knows how to use them well and get victory. In the fights like this, where it's highly competitive, especially with him controlling the grappling aspect of this fight, in my opinion, it comes down to who can really keep it in that realm. And I think Bekov with the basics always. In high level fights, when it's close like this, the basics tend to always show out, especially in 3-round fights. If it's like a championship fight, then heart kind of overcomes technique when people just power through and just grit out victories. But a 3-round fight like this, two people kind of trying to come up right now. I'm gonna lean to the guy who has the cleaner basics. Silva likes to do a lot of flashy stuff. Ulanbekov will be longer. He'll keep him at bay, be able to avoid the spin in the flash, and just keep, like I said, the technical stuff is gonna be more successful, more not than the flash. You might get knocked some lower tier guys out with the flashy stuff, but at higher level, you gotta really set things up. And Silva doesn't set it up a lot. And a lot of times people see it be flashy, be dangerous, be fast, but people see it coming at the higher level. And Ulanbekov can just be sneaky with that long straight and be cracking with it all day. I don't think he stops him, but I think it's a decision where he's able to keep the fight, dictate where the fight goes, whether it's on the ground, via his takedowns and grappling, or on the feet, keeping Silva, the shorter fighter who's on the wrong side of the reach equation, at bay with his straight and his jab. That's how I see this fight going. So in this fight, I got Tagir Ulanbekov via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, Tracy Cortez versus Stephanie Egger. So look at this one. Egger presents an interesting threat to Cortez, but I think it's a little bit too early for her to be fighting someone like Cortez. I think she got some solid grappling, some underrated grappling as far as Egger has. She's definitely tough. Definitely got a decent, well-rounded skill set, but I don't think she has put it together as much as Cortez has put it together. And I don't think she's really going to be able to keep up with the pace and diversity that Cortez is going to bring with the power in her striking, the forward pressure, and the relentless takedown. I think Egger can, like I said, she could be tough out there. She can give for some good work. But at this given point, I really don't think Egger has what it takes to really pull off the victory over Cortez. I think she would have to pick up the pace a lot more in this fight. I think she would have to work on her counters, and she had to be offensive herself with her grappling, or at least be able to stuff Cortez takedowns and then neutralize them, dig some knees, get some underhooks, dig some knees to the body or something, something to slow down a wrestler. But I think at this point, she don't really have those answers just yet. And I'm not saying she's some spring chicken, but as far as her career, even though they're not that far off, only 2 more fights for Cortez, I think Cortez has been doing it at a higher level as far as MMA. Egger's been doing it a little bit higher level as far as BJJ, but still not that high. I'm not going to get too hard in that, but as far as MMA, Cortez has been on a different tier is in MMA, and I think that's going to be a big factor in this one with the pace. As far as her overall MMA game, I think that's what come down. Not just one skill set, but overall MMA game, her striking, how she blends her striking with her wrestling, her pressure and her pace, and her MMA grappling, which is going to separate the two. And I think Egger is going to be a step behind the whole fight. She's going to be tough. She's going to be in the fight, but she's never going to, I don't see her ever leading at any point in this fighting. Cortez is going to be dictating the pace and striking, then mixing her takedowns, controlling on top, fighting with inside her guard, drop some ground and pound, working her back from back control, and like I said, it's riding out a decision over her in a competitive fight, but clearly Cortez winning. So in this fight, I got Tracy Cortez via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the 145-pound division, the featherweight division, Giga Chikadze versus Omar Moraes. So this is a fight that's pretty interesting. Like, Omar Moraes already looked like a welterweight fighting that lightweight, like a decent sized welterweight fighting that lightweight. So he's a big looking lightweight. And now he's cutting down to 145. It's not like he's the youngest guy. It's not like he's in his 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, or even late 20s. He's like in his mid 30s damn near. Like, I think he's like 34 or 35. So he's like in his mid 30s. And he, like I say, already was a pretty big looking lightweight that probably could bank welterweight. Now he's cutting to 145. So I don't know how that's going to affect him. But typically weight cutting, unless you just don't burn yourself out trying to cut the weight or kill yourself trying to cut the weight, typically going down helps wrestlers, and typically going up helps strikers. So going down, you might be dealing with faster fighters, but your whole point to be out there is to be able to blanket them, hold on to them, and latch onto them and weigh on them. And use your size and strength against the smaller guy. Be the biggest blanket you could be at the lower weight class. Whereas at the higher weight class, you want to be faster. You're dealing with a bunch of slower strikers or slow grapplers, and you could just avoid them, like defend their takedowns, be loose, and then pick apart them because their reflexes are so much slower and they're less technical, etc., etc. But not to get too far into that. This going down should help him as long as he doesn't kill himself. Now he's going against Giga Chikadze. I've been hearing he's been training with Beneil Dariush from somebody who in the comment section, which could help him. And at this point, I already made my prediction, so I can't go back. And I wouldn't go back anyway, but I hear he's been training with Beneil Dariush, so that's been helping his grappling. But then again, Beneil Dariush isn't really the greatest wrestler. He's a great grappler, but not a great wrestler. I would say a lot of people are much better wrestlers than Beneil Dariush in the UFC. But definitely as far as getting submitted and definitely as far as the blending of the technique, Beneil Dariush is up there. He has good solid takedowns. He's just not one of the better wrestlers. He can blend the technique very well together. He's very crafty, very technical, very, very high level fighter. He's champion tier as far as his fight IQ and stuff outside of getting on. Let me stop going further, but he got his own little issues, but very good guy to be trained with, especially for a guy who's a striker. That's all I'm gonna say. But Omar Moraes versus Giga Chikadze, I have not, as far as what I've seen, he could train with the best grapplers in the world, the best wrestlers. He could train with the USA team, the Russia team, the Dagestani wrestling team, all he wants. But I'm going to judge it based off what I've seen, unless I've seen something come out of him looking so much better than grappling. But so far from what I've seen, anybody that has taken him down looked pretty well on the top. Like, he couldn't really get back to his feet. And pretty much in the fight rounds he got taken down, he lost them clearly. Like, did a little much off his back, couldn't get back to his feet, and lost on the ground in those rounds. Like, he won those fights, but in all those fights, well, I think one was a draw, one was a decision victory. By the way, in those fights, he got taken down and didn't really look good off his back and couldn't get off his back. So going against a bigger wrestler like Moraes, who's not who's not one dimensional. I think Moraes can strike one of them, just don't want to do it for too long because he'll get his head like caved off or cleaned off or cleaved off. But he could definitely do it long enough that he can open up takedown attempts and get into the ground. And on the ground, like I said, Chikadze has not been looking good on the ground. Now with a bigger, stronger wrestler on top of him, I think it's going to look even worse. Will he get finished? No. Will he get pummeled? No. But he'll probably pretty much get stuck to the canvas like a pancake or something, or stuck to the frying pan like a pancake for those rounds when he get taken down. Might be able to work to his feet at points, but really I'll just see Omar Moraes put him back on the ground and, like I said, is fighting a smart fight and getting a decision victory. So in this fight, I have Omar Moraes via decision. And I was talking a little bit fast for that, but let me kind of slow down so you guys can hear me a little bit more better. Now on to the next fight. We have in the 135-pound division, Ali Alqasi versus Tony Kelley. And I'm going to get right to the point with this one because I'm talking slow and there's no need to drag this one on right here. But look at Ali Alqasi. His wrestling isn't all that phenomenal, but he can have some success with against Tony Kelley purely because Kelley likes to look for that guillotine. Kelley believes in his grappling so much that, he's one of those fighters who's like, I can see some people like having like so much confidence in their grappling. Like those people like Charles Oliveira and Brian Ortega, those people like as soon as they go to the ground, if you play with them on the ground, you will get submitted. Kelley is not one of those guys. He does have some good submission skills, but he's definitely one of those guys that more often than not, if he goes for a submission attempt against a high level competitor, he's more than likely going to end up on his back. He's not going to get that submission and just going to give up position. So, but he still loves to go for submissions. Like he still likes to chase them. So that can give a chance for Ali Alqasi. But even with that happening, I think Alqasi can't keep Kelley on the ground. Alqasi will be the shorter fighter, slower fighter, less reach. And really on the feet, Alqasi is like a one punch fighter. He's not like no amazing striker. He don't have no real amazing fight IQ. Don't have no amazing footwork, amazing head movement, no amazing speed. Like nothing really amazing about it. He got a little bit of power in one of his punch, like his right hand, and that's about it. A little bit of power. He's not no Roy Nelson, not no Johnny Hendricks in his prime, not no this guy, not no that guy, not no definitely not none of those people. So he can cause some issues for some people at the lower end, but Kelley has some skill set that can transfer to the middle or higher end of this division. I don't think Alqasi's skill set transfers to the higher end of this division. But what I see like Kelley being able to deal with Alqasi's wrestling, whether he gets taken on or not. He can pop back up to his feet on a standing up. Has much better footwork, is much more active. Cuts way too many angles. I think Alqasi gonna look lost, especially when you only got one. Somebody cutting all these angles, you only got one punch. You're gonna be looking real lost out there. I think Kelley be able to kick him to the leg, stick, move, kick him to the leg, kick him to the body, punch, rip him to the body, rip him up top, and it's really like this. Almost make Alqasi look like a punching bag. Give up some takedowns, stand back up, and just continue to make the shorter, slower, less technical fighter look like a punching bag. Just hit him from all different angles and just work on him. I don't think he stops him, but I definitely think it's a real clear decision that Kelley just the better fighter and just picks him apart from round 1 to round 3. Am I saying like it's gonna be this straight up butchering out there? No, but it's probably like a fight where he's just technically solid and is looking clean and wins an impressive performance. So in this fight, I got Tony Kelley via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the 185-pound division, in the middleweight division, Impa Kasanganay versus Impa Kasanganay, I believe is his name. Yes, Impa Kasanganay versus Joaquin Buckley. So look at this one right here. Buckley versus Kasanganay. I think it come down. I think Kasanganay, not Kasanganay. I think Buckley might be a little bit more well-rounded fighter as far as his grappling goes, but Kasanganay is a well-rounded fighter as well. And I think the biggest gap is in their like fight IQ and overall technical skill. Like I said, Buckley might be a little bit of a better grappler, but Kasanganay can stuff his takedowns, can get his own takedowns in this fight. You know, feet, he's much cleaner, much sharper. Buckley likes to load up and like throw power. Defense not the best, especially when he's firing, like leaves his chin hanging out there. And a guy like Kasanganay is going to take advantage of that and take that punch right on that chin. He's going to roll with that shot, catch him swinging, catch him loading up, catch him reaching, and make him pay. That's really the thing. That's what's going to come down to. It's going to be like Buckley trying to get some takedowns at that point, get rocked and try to go for takedowns. Kasanganay stuffing him, pushing him back, maybe get his own takedowns in the fight. And the biggest thing is really coming down in the striking and how they strike. And Kasanganay, better footwork, better reads, better reach. I said better reach, but pretty much he just sees the striking much better than Buckley. I think Buckley just likes to load and fire and hope. That's not what Adesanya said. Like he doesn't think he he sees and fires, or other people just swing and hope. He sees and fires. But yeah, that's what Buckley is. Yes, he's a see and fire. Or a hope and reach. That's what he is. That's more so. He's a hope and reach type fighter. And Kasanganay is going to take advantage of him reaching, trying to land big shots and land those short, clean shots. And really just pick apart Buckley. I don't think he stops him, but I think he does definitely dictate the pace of this fight from start to finish. Like Kasanganay is not really a finisher. We've seen on the Contender Series both times. We've seen in his debut. So it's going to go to the decision, but he's definitely going to land some clean shots and definitely be the sharper fighter out there. And that's what's going to lead him to a victory. So in this fight, I got Impa Kasanganay via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in our prelim headliner in the heavyweight division, Rodrigo Nascimento versus Chris Daukaus. So Nascimento versus Chris Daukaus. I actually think there's a serious upset potential here because Daukaus looked real good against what's his name, Parker Porter. But then again, Parker Porter did get knocked out by John Jones, so you can't really say nothing about him. But then after losing to John Jones via knockout earlier on in his career, he did have somewhat of a decent MMA career, though far from impressive. But as far as just victories and improvement upon himself, he did look better. But I don't know. Either way, Daukaus looked impressive in his last fight. Yeah, he looked good. Like fast hands, fast feet, good eyes, good kicks, good punches. And he destroyed. When he got the opportunity, he just ran right through Parker Porter. And then also the fact that he trained with his brothers, has a pretty decent, solid BJJ. I'm not saying he has Nascimento level BJJ, but he has a pretty solid BJJ of his own. So if he can at least kind of semi-neutralize Nascimento's grappling, I think he has opportunities on the feet. Rodrigo looked decent in his last fight against Dontel Mays. But it's really because Dontel Mays allowed him to dictate the pace. He allowed him to put him on the back foot. So anybody can look really good when the other opponent is not really firing. You can get them to shell up and you can start unloading on them. Anyone could kind of look like a world-class striker when somebody's not fighting back. So I think that definitely could give you a false sense of security with Nascimento, that just because what he did to Dontel Mays, who really hasn't had the most impressive MMA career anyway, and not to say he's a bad fighter, but he has far from his resume has been far from the best. So beating him don't really mean a whole lot. Not saying he's a bad fighter, but beating him just does not mean a whole lot. Neither does beating Parker Porter, but Doc, at least in that little portion of time for that little bit of fight that he did have with Park Porter, his striking looked far cleaner than Nascimento's striking. So like I said, if he can have his grappling at least and neutralize Nascimento, he has opportunities. But what I really see happen in this fight is that's gonna look clean, but I think Nascimento's gonna really crash into him, like be heavy on the pressure, not really allow him to throw volume like he wants to, be doing heavier strikes, cutting the cage off, throwing heavy strikes, and then going for takedowns, and not really allowing Doc to get his hands going, really allowing him to get his kicks going. Also, he's gonna probably attack the lead leg with his kicks, inside kicks, outside kicks, try to chew that lead leg up so Doc can't really plant it, and really take away the danger that Doc could present, like I said, in the striking. So take away his base so he can't really load up or really generate power like he wants to. And then go heavy on the grappling attempts. Take Daukaus down and really work and grind and wear him out with his pace, his pressure, his power, taking away his wheels and take away his taking away his weapons basically. Then by the second round, after wearing him down, I think he gets that submission on the ground and taps him out. So in this fight, I got Rodrigo Nascimento via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the 185-pound division, in our prelim headliner, Tom Breese versus KB Bhullar. So right now, this is looking like the headliner for the prelims or the prelim headliners, but you never know, like, they could switch this up on the day of, 2 days before, or maybe it's just Tapology, maybe on the actual thing, this is not even how it was actually listed up to be, but either way, I predicted the main card already, and I'm predicting every other fight that I didn't predict on the prelim. So right now, this is the prelim headliner for what I'm seeing. So we are in our prelim headliner, Tom Breese versus KB Bhullar in the middleweight division. So really looking at this one right here. Really, what I like about KB Bhullar is that he's tall and like 6'4" at 185. I was thinking for a second this might be 170 because Tom Breese used to fight with him. But then I realized he's been at 185 for a good number of years. Even though he only fought like twice at this division. And it's been like 4 years. But yeah, not to get too far into that. But I do like the fact that KB Bhullar is like 6'4" versus the 6'3", 6'2", 6'3" Breese. And Breese usually is the taller fighter and by a lot. So that'd be interesting. Like a lot of times when tall fighters give up height, they don't look the best because like they're so used to exploiting their height. So he'll be giving him the height. And also he never did have the longest reach for his height. He was 6'3" with a 73-inch reach or something. So was always tall. I mean, he's tall, but don't have the longest reach. Like you would probably want that guy to have like a 76, 77-inch reach with that height, but only having a 73-inch reach is kind of a little bit disappointing. Now you're going against a guy that's taller than you, probably have a longer reach than you. And I'm interested to see what Breeze does with that. But really looking at Bhullar, like with a little bit of tape I did see on him, and really had to go through his Facebook. So like, I think his most recent fight, but it looked real low tier. Like he's fighting in like some car, not really say no cars, but like he's fighting in some very low tier regional vibe scene. Fighting some guy that probably got 3 other jobs and probably got like 4 kids and stuff. Dude's hands were down, dude was circling right to the head kick like in slow motion. Like anybody that could get their leg up could knock him out. Like it would just look bad. But then again, you never know. Like I said, the tape out there is not really on him, and that's really why I can't really get too much in it. But like from looking at his resume, his record, submissions, like look at well-rounded skill set. But like looking at his competition, very low, and looking at his last fight I saw on his Facebook, was not impressed at all from what I saw. I mean, he's decent, but I don't like he's a fighter that should be stepping up against a guy that's just proving his Breeze. So I really think on the feet, Breeze should outstrike him, and I think really just come down to experience and overall level of competition. I think Breeze can take him down and out-grapple him. And on the feet, I think Breeze can box him up. Like, look, Bhullar looks more like a kind of a kickboxing type fighter, and a lot of those kickboxing fighters don't really move their head or their body that well to kind of stand upright. And Breeze has some solid boxing. So I think he can box him to the body all day, come over top, and just really, like I said, just put on a boxing clinic against him or take it to the ground and out-grapple him. And that's what I see is Tom Breeze just fighting a clinical fight, boxing, mixing up his striking with his grappling, and being that veteran and getting a veteran type victory. Not like one of those veterans where the guy grind out a victory, but it's like where they just show that they're just clearly on a different level and bring that new guy in and show him like this is where the competition is. This is where how good you got to be. Don't think he goes out to destroy him, but I think he definitely just clearly just wins every facet of this fight or every portion of this fight, whether it's on feet or on the ground, against the cage, etc., etc. I think he just wins in every area and wins a clear-cut decision. Maybe even dominant, you could say, but not like a wash where he just going out there just busting them up and just making it look way too easy, but still making it look clean and somewhat easy. So in this fight, I got Tom Breeze via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the prelims of UFC Fight Night, Moraes versus Sandhagen. And as always, thanks for watching.